Da 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 da. Ho! Good morning and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. I'm the host, yours truly, Blind Run, and in real life I go by Matthew. Today we're going to be talking about the unveiling of the Intel Arc discrete graphics cards, their enthusiast desktop line. We're going to be talking about the 3090 Ti hash rate thanks to Trump Change and his channel, so get a shout out there. Then we're going to be taking a look at 12 PlayStation 5 APUs, power a new crypto mining rig, and this is actually something you can buy, which is pretty crazy. Then we have Greenpeace and crypto billionaire lobbied to change Bitcoin's code. And we'll be talking about the digital dollar, basically from the perspective of people that are pro-digital dollar. So we're going to be getting outside perspectives there. And then we'll talk about mining profitability for the day. Of course, unfortunately, I have had some issues with my farm that we'll discuss. Our average hash rate for the past 24 hours has been 2 gigahash. And unfortunately, I decided to go to Houston to try to get a 3090 Ti, which did not work out. And now we are down like really, really bad on mining personally, unfortunately. Let's get into it right after a word from today's sponsor.
Today's sponsor is myself. To support the channel, click the join button below the video and you will get access to our privately hosted Rocket Chat. Selecting the $1.99 option will get you access, and after that you need to head over to the membership tab, scroll down, and expand out your membership perks. Find the section for connecting on social media, and in that section there will be a secret registration URL to join Rocket Chat, where you can sign up to enjoy talking with other cryptocurrency enthusiasts and miners without spammers, scammers, or bots.
Man, I love that sponsor. Go ahead and hit that join button down below, and we'll get rolling with, of course, the community. Also, if you guys see here, I am wearing the Keep Calm Mine On shirt. I love this shirt. Definitely check it out down below the video. And this is the new Straight Outta Power shirt. Now, unfortunately, I accidentally ordered a small, so it doesn't fit me. But there you go. That's what it would look like. Straight Outta Power. And then we did the L630P plug there. And then we did the, for the O. And then the ohms for the O. Yeah, or for the A, the amps. Sorry. There we go. Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the first topic of today, which is going to be Intel Arc Alchemist GPU, or discrete graphics card for high-performance gaming PCs unveiled. Limited edition variant launches in the summer of 2022. We're getting close, boys, and I have basically super high hopes for this particular GPU because at the top end, the projections are somewhere around $500 US for a 256-bit bus, which should give us incredible mining performance, and I'm really looking forward to it. But that's just projections. We don't actually have much going for us as far as confirmation on what's going to be happening here. But Intel has officially unveiled its first desktop discrete graphics card within the Arc Alchemist A-series lineup, which launches in summer of 2022. The Intel Arc Alchemist graphics card was first visually demonstrated by YouTuber Moore's Law is Dead. Intel's new card originally showcased a black cover with an elongated green printed circuit board back when we first saw it as an engineering sample. Later, it was showcased with a modern silver aesthetic, but the latest shots once again show a black colored shroud. The final card looks very similar to the prototypes we saw earlier, but adopts a more premium look, hence the limited edition branding. This new Intel Arc Alchemist discrete graphics card is supplied with a black colored dual fan cooling technology, which matches the same layouts in the earlier leaked photos. There's a more noticeable view of the I/O bracket with these new photos that uses 3 DisplayPort connectors and a single HDMI connection. Intel has confirmed the new Arc Alchemist will begin graphics card architectures to support the newest DisplayPort 1.4a and HDMI 2.0b interfaces. Here you can see you got 1, 2, 3 display ports and then the single HDMI there. Some more shots here. You can kind of see a few memory modules here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't see the ones up there or on the side really necessarily, especially with this bright light shining in my face. And there's the die and kind of maybe some more components on the back side. Kind of did some interesting stuff with the with the B stock or whatever. The printed circuit board displays as many as 8 modules. From this observation, this card is possibly the 16 gigabyte model, considered the flagship model of Intel's new line. So it is likely to be a premium variant of the flagship Arc 7 A780 graphics card, which will utilize the full ACM G10 GPU with 32 Xe cores. We can see that the engineering sample is supplied with dual 8-pin connectors, and the whole finish of the card looks incredible. The sides also feature an LED illuminated Intel Arc logo. The discrete graphics card lineup is slated for a launch in summer of 2022, which aligns with the May to June rumors that we have heard before. Should be super interesting to see it launch right around, of course, also the same time that we would be, from the mining perspective, potentially seeing the merge for Ethereum. All right, so Chump Change, you can go check out his YouTube channel. The video is linked down below. He did some testing for, I don't know, an hour and a half or so yesterday for essentially the 3090 Ti. And I just have a screenshot kind of pulled up here, kind of paused so that we can see. It looks like our estimations in hash rate were around correct at 130 mega hash a second. Now, he doesn't have full driver support in Hive OS. I think I would have preferred to see it done in Windows. For initial releases, when you don't have the drivers working or ready in something like Hive OS, either utilizing Ubuntu directly if you really want to do Linux, or where the drivers have released, which I haven't checked if the 3090 Ti has Linux drivers yet, but I assume so. Or that's why we utilize Windows a lot of times, just to make sure we have the latest drivers and we're up to date. As far as the power consumption at 130 mega hash a second, you're looking at 311 watts, which in theory, and we'd have to see what it is at, I suppose, at the wall. I didn't watch all of this, to be honest with you guys. I didn't have time. But at the wall, we may see higher rates. But within Hive OS, this reporting compared to like a 3090 is not dissimilar by any means at all. So it could be pretty close to essentially exactly what the 3090 is, just with a slightly higher hash rate. And of course, over time, within the within a mining farm, you would maybe have to worry about some heat. So you would really have to get some longer testing going on. This particular setting has the fan at 100%, the core at 1200, and the memory at 2750. I'll go ahead and throw a like there. Make sure you guys go check it out and throw the like. Personally, I did not get a 3090 Ti. I missed it by about 30 minutes, unfortunately. Try to get the source one for the channel at some point for you guys, but that's kind of where it's at as far as it goes. Now, Micro Center did have 1660 Supers for $320, so I picked up a 1660 Super as one of my 30-day pickups from Micro Center. Unfortunately, I guess that means I probably can't get a 3090 Ti, but I can get it through other means. It's fine. Let's go ahead and talk about the coolest thing that I've seen in a while. And ever since the launch of the new consoles, pretty much the hot topic was, are people mining on them? Can you mine on them? We've seen mining farms, presumably pictures of mining farms from like Russia that I can't verify, of a whole bunch of PS5s mining Ethereum. Now, apparently somebody somewhere within the industry must have figured out how to do it even directly on a PS5, because it looks like to get rid of some of the poor yields for the PS5s, we're seeing ASRock partner up and create this abomination, which is a 12 PlayStation 5 APU powered crypto mining rig. This was posted 23 hours ago, and the system costs approximately $14,800 and does 610 mega hash a second. It says a fully certified and tested $14,000 ASRock crypto mining server made in collaboration between ASRock and AMD has been spotted by Twitter's Kamachi. Most interestingly, the system features 12 AMD BC250 APUs that push it to a surprisingly powerful 610 mega hash a second. So one of the things I wanted to point out is there are 12 of them in there for 610 mega hash a second. So presumably what you're really looking at for the PS5, from what I could tell, is not anywhere near that 100 mega hash a second, presumably, that people had thought early on. Sounds like it's more around 50 to 52 mega hash a second, which would line up probably right on par with a 5700 XT, which would totally make sense in my humble opinion. The Twitter tipster thinks they might be the PS5 Oberon processor cast-offs, and we too have heard the same story from a source familiar with the matter. This all means that AMD has apparently found yet another use for its defective PS5 silicon, in addition to the AMD 4700S that they've already reviewed. ASRock is one of the most crypto mining friendly PC and components maker alongside BioStar. Perusing its site, you will find crypto purposed motherboards as part of its BTC Plus series, which we've reviewed on this channel. And frankly, I use a ton of ASRock H110 Pro BTC motherboards. They're super solid motherboards, been using them for years, since 2017. And I do have the ASRock H510, but we haven't reviewed it yet, primarily because I was trying to find a case from AliExpress. I ordered one. It didn't really come in, so I don't know if I just have to order another one, try to cancel that, or what's going to happen there. But I wanted to do it a little more along those lines, as opposed to just throwing it together. But that being said, let's just continue. However, it makes crypto mining servers too, and sells bare bones and fully populated servers to favored customers. Kamachi highlighted one of ASRock's mining rigs for scale in Slovenia, described as ASRock mining rig barebones 610 mega hash 12 by AMD BC250. The system is listed at €13,499, which is approximately $14,800 US. The advert says that what is up for sale is, quote, a quality computer for cryptocurrency mining operations with a guarantee made by a recognized manufacturer, ASRock. It goes on to claim that the certified and tested system is the result of a cooperation between AMD and ASRock. And as you can see here, you got all the BC250 boards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You have some intake fans here, presumably, and or exhaust. I'd have to see what the configuration is. I think it's intake, and then exhaust is supposed to go out through here. And then on the back, you have two 1200 watt power supplies, which means you're looking at 2400 watts to power essentially 12 of these boards, which means the BC250 would be, I mean, potentially the highest, right? Even 2400 would be too high, but if we just divided that by 12, it's an easy 200 watts, right? 200 watts per card. 200 watts for essentially 50 mega hash a second or something along those lines. I would presume the power consumption is a little less, or maybe even quite a bit less, maybe like 80% at the most is what I would presume. So 160 watts. That would line up right along the lines of 5700 XT by my math. The ASRock mining rig listing shows the system from a number of angles. From the top-down view, you can see 12 PCI cards lined up with no obvious branding. The listing says that they are BC250 mining APU passive design, meaning each board houses a PS5 APU. Elsewhere in the server is 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM. That's interesting. Why is it? Okay. 5 cooling fans and a pair of 1200 watt power supplies. You will note that there is no system CPU listed. However, one of the PS5 APUs may have a working CPU core used for general processing and housekeeping duties. This theory tallies with the 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, which is how the Sony PlayStation 5 is configured. There you go. That's why. Okay, I said it's weird. That's why it's weird. Which would make a lot of sense. So you basically have one of the boards that has some active CPU cores that didn't completely take a dump, that sort of thing, or maybe has a full fat PS5 APU in there. Some other details of this ready-to-roll crypto mining system are that it can hit approximately 610 megahash a second when mining Ethereum. For reference, the Nvidia GeForce RTX 3090 can mine approximately 120 megahash a second while consuming 300 watts. Now, a lot of these tech websites always like to say 120 megahash a second at 300 watts. I know a lot of you guys that watch the channel, if you have a 3090 just sitting on a test bench and you're just hitting one, sure, you're going to hit that. But to be frank, like, the cooling within a farm setting is very difficult, and you're not going to always get 120 megahash a second out of every single 3090. They vary very widely as well, depending on make and model. You need to be very careful. Some that I would avoid, just off the top of my head, in case you guys are looking, like the PNYs are really bad, and they really can't get much better, even with pads and paste and everything that I've tried, as well as the Zotac 3090s. So those are two that I would avoid for sure, just off the top of my head. A quick check of US stores, and we see the RTX 3090 cards are available for $2,200. To match performance of the ASRock server, you'll need about 5 of those cards, which would be about 11,000 US dollars plus other components, like powerful GPUs that ensure 1,500 watts for the GPUs alone. And I think they mean here, of course, the power supplies, PSUs, to ensure the 1,500 watts for the GPUs alone. That's fair enough, right? So you're going to spend a couple $100 on that through Parallel Miner, whatever. It's still not going to, I mean, it would still, if you can get those hashing reliably, I think this setup with the partnership between AMD and so on, plus the fact that these are probably going to run significantly cooler just in general, I think this would be more reliable than a rig of 5 3090s, but it comes at a price premium, right? The AMD BC250 appears to be a known entity in the crypto mining world. For example, an ETH mining profitability calculator site in Norway lists a single BC250 as being capable of over 50 megahash a second, which tallies with the ASRock server advert. It adds that running one of these APUs in a mining capacity will make about $3 a day, depending on your electricity costs and the ever-changing value of ETH. Rather than surplus PS5 APUs being used in crypto mining, some would prefer that these APUs with active and working RDNA 2 graphics cores were used in the AMD 4700S and 4800S desktop kits or similar. Despite recent valuation gains, ETH mining is increasingly difficult, taking the edge off its attractiveness to GPU miners. Moreover, it is expected to transition to proof of stake in the coming months, making investments like $14,800 in the headlining ASRock crypto mining rig seem nonsensical. Of course, it does, but we also don't know what this does on everything else. What does it do? Obviously, Ethereum Classic going to do the same thing. It'd be really curious to see how it performs on some of the more core intensive algorithms, depending on like how bad, I guess, the individual boards are on the core side, how bad the sampling was coming off of it. Obviously, it's not going to be as good as a presumed theoretical PS5 would be for maybe some of the more core intensive algorithms. But there you go. I think it's really cool regardless. Like, let's go ahead and take those types of deals as cryptocurrency miners, which by those deals, I just mean, look, if they have low yields on stuff, but they can throw on the memory chips and you can mine with them, it makes a lot of sense. It's just another way that, in my opinion, mining can help reduce waste. That's pretty much what mining does. Mining basically monetizes what would otherwise be waste. And that's true across the board for everything from power consumption, right, to low yield silicon. So to me, it seems like a good idea. Let's talk about Greenpeace and a crypto billionaire that you guys may have heard of, Chris Larsen, launching basically a change the code, not the climate campaign against Bitcoin. Coming from the Star, Greenpeace crypto billionaire lobbied to change Bitcoin's code. Bitcoin is about to face a fresh onslaught over its damaging environmental footprint. Several climate activist groups, including Greenpeace and crypto billionaire Chris Larsen, are launching a Change the Code, Not the Climate campaign, designed to pressure the Bitcoin community to alter the way it orders transactions that already consume as much power as Sweden. In 5 years, Bitcoin may consume as much power as Japan, Larsen said in an interview. The campaign will buy ads in leading publications over the next month. Greenpeace Environmental Working Group and some local activist groups battling Bitcoin miners are also mobilizing their millions of members for grassroots efforts. The campaign has already reached out to a dozen key people and corporations, some of them involved in Bitcoin, and yet pledging environmental, social, and governance, or ESG compliance, according to Michael Brune, who is in charge of the campaign. Quote, "We are in this campaign for the long haul, but we are hoping, particularly since Bitcoin is now being financed by entities and individuals who care about climate change, that we can compel leadership to agree that this is a problem that needs to be addressed," end quote, said Brune, who is a longtime executive director of the Sierra Club before resigning last year. Quote, "Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, PayPal, Venmo, Fidelity, there are a lot of companies we anticipate will be helpful in this effort." Frankly, I don't want almost any of those. Actually, I don't want any of those participating in cryptocurrency personally. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. The campaign is counting on several factors to help its cause. There's increasing frustration in some communities in the U.S. that have found themselves hosting Bitcoin miners and dealing with issues such as excessive noise. All right. Noise pollution could be a thing, right? But if you are zoned in the proper sections and you are going beyond your housing, I don't think that that's as big of a deal. Also, there are companies currently working on low noise applications for even ASIC miners, specifically for home mining, which I'm hoping to get more info on, of course, as we get closer to Bitcoin Miami. I will not be attending, but I'm aware of some companies that are going to be presenting basically home mining solutions for ASIC miners. And part of that is the noise complaints, of course. There's an increasing... Okay, so we got that. After China banned crypto mining last year, a flood of miners moved to the U.S. or to U.S. Bitcoin's main rival, Ethereum. Wait, hold on. Let me reread this. After China banned crypto mining last year, a flood of miners moved to the U.S. Bitcoin's main rival, Ethereum, is readying for a major software overhaul that will make it more environmentally friendly. I think there's supposed to be an and or something, a little broken there. Just like Bitcoin, it's currently using a giant... oh my goodness. Or I can't read today. Let's reset. Just like Bitcoin, it's currently using a giant server farms in order... I'm adding an A. I'm trying to process the information and talk at the same time. It's not happening. All right. Just like Bitcoin, it's currently using giant server farms to order transactions via a process called proof of work. But within months, Ethereum could switch to a different method called proof of stake, which is projected by some to cut its energy consumption by 99%. Quote, "Now with Ethereum changing, Bitcoin really is the outlier," end quote, Larsen said. Some of the new protocols, Solana and Cardano, are built on low energy. Larsen said he's put in $5 million US, which is, I think, okay, so 21 million RM, to fund the campaign, partly because he feels that Bitcoin won't continue to enjoy investors' support unless it changes. Quote, I want to see Bitcoin and Ethereum succeed, end quote, said Larsen, who owns some Bitcoin and Ether as well as XRP. Yeah, we know. Here we go. Last year, Larsen had a net worth of 3.4 billion US dollars, according to Forbes Billionaires list. He is executive chairman and co-founder of Ripple, which supports XRP. And you guys need to take into account that I did tweet this yesterday, basically like XRP's attack on Bitcoin basically tells you what side they're on. And I did get a reply saying it's just one person, but come on. It's Larsen. Obviously, he's a billionaire off of Ripple. It's clear that he's steering the ship, right? The U.S. Securities Exchange Commission sued Ripple, Larsen, and another executive in 2020, alleging they, quote, raised over 1.3 billion US dollars through an unregistered ongoing digital asset securities offering, end quote. The case is expected to wrap up this year. Larsen said he's not launching this campaign to bring down a rival cryptocurrency. Quote, if I was concerned about Bitcoin as a competitor, probably the best thing I could do is let it continue on its path, end quote, Larsen said. This is just an unsustainable path. In recent years, Larsen said he has refocused on philanthropy and invested about 90 million in US dollars into various causes, many of them related to climate change. Bitcoin's environmental concerns came to the forefront last year when Elon Musk said Tesla Incorporated would resume accepting Bitcoin as payment only after at least 50% of the mining relies on renewable energy. Larsen said Bitcoin's power consumption issue could be fixed via a soft or hard fork, both changing the network's code to make Bitcoin less power hungry, or a soft fork would preserve Bitcoin as a single blockchain. A hard fork would split Bitcoin into two separate networks, one supporting miners and the other one running different code, perhaps proof of stake. Yeah, that's been done a lot already as far as hard forks, just in case you were wondering, Larsen. I don't know. The campaign believes that about 50 key miners, crypto exchanges, and core developers have power to change Bitcoin's code. Whether the campaign will work is a different story. Bitcoin miners earning more than 15 billion US dollars last year, according to data from the Block Research, would have to be given incentives to switch. Shifting to proof of stake is technologically complex, and it has taken Ethereum years to develop and test the code necessary for the change. Perhaps more importantly, many Bitcoin diehards are adamant against changing the system created by Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonymous person or group credited with developing the software. Quote, I'd put the chance of Bitcoin ever moving to proof of stake as exactly 0%, said Chris Bedixson, a Bitcoin researcher at CoinShares and one of the world's leading experts on Bitcoin mining. Quote, there's no appetite among Bitcoiners to destroy the security of the protocol by making such a move, end quote. But while maximalist Bitcoiners may not want to deviate from Nakamoto's vision, Larsen contends times are changing. Quote, some of it borders on religion. Heresy, of course, is not a technological term, end quote, he said. Now, a lot of what's driving crypto is the enormous liquidity that's come from the traditional market players. And generally, those people are not religious about these technologies, so it's just a matter of time, end quote. And I think that he's correct there on the end. Of course, I agree that there is pretty much a 0% chance that Bitcoin would ever move proof of stake. Remember, the governance is driven by the miners. The miners are driven by basically all the collateral that they have stacked up in ASIC miners. They're going to create the votes. You're not going to be able to shift it. I guess you would have to influence all 50 of those miners, essentially the largest ones, as they have talked about, to go ahead and want to basically self-destruct their own infrastructure, which doesn't seem like a very smart move, nor something anybody would want to do. So when we're talking about like his last point there of the general or the liquidity coming in from traditional market players, you have to take into account that those traditional market players are also investing into mining as well. And a lot of them now are shifting. It's even shifting to the point to where you have electric companies also investing in that. So the people there supplying the power to the power grid. So I don't see this being a problem. What I wanted to point out and make clear, though, is that this is XRP. This is how they function. This is their thought process. And personally, I don't trust Ripple or XRP. I haven't for a long time, primarily due to the fact that they do plan on integrating banks into cryptocurrency. And yeah, you could call me idealistic and all of that, but I would stay away from it personally from that standpoint, sticking to the fundamentals, right? And speaking of fundamentals, we still have another rebuttal discussing the digital dollar, and this is coming from CoinDesk. And it says, a digital dollar may help the poor, but it's far from a done deal. Financial inclusion is one of the big reasons the U.S. should adopt a digital currency, supporters say, but others aren't so sure. Advocates for a digital dollar in the U.S. point to many possible benefits such a currency. There we go. Saying it would lead to greater financial inclusion, allow for more efficient distribution of government benefits, and provide a faster and cheaper way to send money overseas. But the issue of whether to have a digital dollar is far from settled. Although a digital dollar may have received a boost earlier this month when President Joe Biden issued an executive order that asked federal agencies to study the issue. Now, remember, we also basically have two forms of the digital dollar. We have one by the Federal Reserve and one by, now I forget, but it's called eCash. And they're competing ideas. Both of them have, each have individual flaws, right? So the digital dollar's flaw, both of them share the same major flaw, which is a further centralization of the control of finances to the federal government. They both share that same flaw. But one, in the case of the digital dollar right now, is studied by MIT, which is kind of slated as the digital dollar, would also have issues of basically programmable money and the ability for whoever controls it, whichever federal government controls it, to dictate what basically users can and can't buy and control their accounts kind of directly. While on the eCash side, they've gotten rid of that. However, their big problem is going to be that they do not have, they're proposing basically a digital currency that does not have a public ledger. So basically, you have no way to review as part of the public. And that's one of the things that makes Bitcoin important. So as far as the two options, neither one seem really good to me, but there are basically competing ideas within that. And I think the eCash one would be further centralized as well because it pulls the control out from the Federal Reserve and goes directly into the federal government. One, not so directly into, yeah, anyways, I think you understand what I'm saying. One example of how the digital dollar could have helped occurred when the U.S. government issued stimulus checks as a form of COVID-19 relief. Crypto enthusiasts claim that instead of issuing checks, an easier and faster way to send the money to people would have been to simply airdrop digital dollars. A digital dollar could deliver public benefits from the government in a much more efficient manner than the current system. What happens when the government can be more efficient at printing more money? Inflation? Okay. So, and that's according to Brianna Marbury, executive director of the nonprofit Interledger Foundation. With COVID relief payments, the government was scrambling to get checks distributed, and in some cases, it didn't even have the right addresses for people who had moved. In other cases, people weren't registered with the IRS because their income was below the threshold required to file taxes. Quote, they were just up in arms and couldn't figure out how to get these checks to people in a fast and efficient way, and it was just something that was very needed at the time. Similar difficulties arose with the $2.2 trillion CARES Act for small to medium business and farmers, With a CBDC, every person would have been issued a digital wallet that would allow them to direct access to their funds, avoiding those obstacles, some crypto enthusiasts claimed. In fact, lawmakers had proposed that the Federal Reserve issue a digital dollar in March of 2020, but ultimately decided for direct bank deposits. Jim Kuna, an official at the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, said a digital currency could be one part of a solution to address an issue that's bigger than just distributing government funds. That issue is including more people in the financial system. Quote, if you want to help solve financial inclusion, you'd have to have a public policy goal of doing that, end quote, Kuna said. A new technology by itself is not going to fix financial inclusion, just like it's not going to fix cross-border. I'd argue that it already has started to fix financial inclusion in places like Venezuela, and that is something on the international scene that we've already seen happening, and I think that it can happen across everything without actually the interference of a government or anything along those lines. We've seen plenty of use cases around that, but let's continue. Quote, one little use case, and you can see how CBDC would have some potential, is oversimplifying it, Kuna said, but it shows you the potential. We just haven't built on that yet. In the US, roughly 35% of low-income individuals open up bank accounts just to receive government funds. That number includes only those who qualify for opening a bank account, not people who want to but don't have the ability to do so. Some 7.1 million people, or 5.4% of the US population, are unbanked. And when including the underbanked to count those who don't have access to mainstream financial services like credit cards and loans, the number goes up to 14 million. Many of them are immigrants who send remittances overseas to their home countries, which is often an expensive service. Quote, they can either send that extra amount to their family and friends back home, thereby increasing their economies, or even just being able to put that into their own pockets, end quote, which has clearly already been being done with cryptocurrency. It's one of the first things that started being done with cryptocurrency, was avoiding all these things like Western Union and so on. If the Federal Reserve were to issue a CBDC, it would probably charge much lower fees on remittances than private companies do, she added. Senator Sherrod Brown, I believe a Democrat of Ohio, chairman of the Senate Banking, Housing and Urban Affairs Committee, has made a similar point, saying, quote, Americans shouldn't have to pay exorbitant fees just to use the money they've already earned. A central bank digital currency can work with these no-fee accounts to make sure working families have access to the payment system and full participation in our economy, end quote, Brown said at committee hearing last September. Some say while the digital currency could help low-income families and individuals, the details of a digital dollar need to be fleshed out. Quote, CBDCs could have a great impact on fiscal policy, particularly for those in need, end quote, said Jennifer Lassiter, executive director at the Digital Dollar Project. But we will not know for sure to what extent positive or negative impacts CBDCs would have if we do not experiment on the specific use cases. A report earlier this month from Brookings Institution, written by Tim Masad, a former chairman of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and Hal Jackson, a Harvard Law School professor, said that instead of getting the Fed involved, quote, the Treasury Department could relatively quickly create digital accounts to provide payment services that would be especially valuable to unbanked and underbanked individuals. Yeah, they could, I guess, in theory, work with Ripple. But yeah, they could utilize what's already currently available with Bitcoin or Digibyte or whatever else, right? That's what other countries have already done. There's no consensus that a digital currency is necessary. Lawmakers and banks have been focusing on the issue of financial inclusion for years, and new products and services that are internet or phone-based have already led to more financial inclusion, said Scott Talbot, a lobbyist for the Electronic Transactions Association, a group that represents big financial institutions like JP Morgan Chase, MasterCard, and PayPal. Talbot pointed to examples like being able to pay with cash from any location and eCash, an electronic dollar that is issued by the Treasury Department and has similar characteristics to a CBDC. Rather than creating a whole new system, it would be more efficient to continue with the current one and make tweaks to accommodate the CBDC, he suggested. Quote, if we're talking about creating a whole new system where the Fed creates a new rail or a new car or something, that's a lot of effort to try to mimic what we already have, Talbot added. If the government decides to pursue a digital dollar, it would still take years for it to be issued. Some decision makers are eyeing the latter half of this decade. Quote, yes, there are some challenges with implementation, Marbury said, but let's experiment, let's break this thing, and let's see where our vulnerabilities are so that we can begin to create a system that works for everybody and that does not exclude certain populations of the American people. You have it. It's called Bitcoin. It's already here, bro. The thing is you don't control it. So I get the reluctance. I understand. I understand, my man. But it's already here. We already have something to handle it. Let's integrate that and move on. Let's talk about mining profitability. So if you look here, I thought I fixed it last night. Went home. I didn't fix it. So I went back out this morning. We're back up and running. It destroyed my profitability. I only had $127 US dollar payout yesterday, which was 0.03 ETH. Part of that was also because I drove for about 6 hours to Houston and back. And unfortunately, I'm just down. The projected now is at $239 US dollars at 0.07 ETH, but I really have nothing to compare or base this on because of my own issues. So unfortunately, we'll just have to rely on what to mine to really continue tracking this progress. I am mining on Luckpool. I did move over the light hash rate rig to Ethereum, primarily due to the fact that I want to see how the new LOL miner is functioning for potentially a video or at least some knowledge surrounding it. So that's what we're doing. On what to mine though, if we correct the Zel hash here, for the RTX 3090, we are looking at under $5 a day now. We were over $5 a day, if you recall, but we're at $4.81 a day on Ethereum after power, $3.85 a day after power on Ethereum Classic. Then if we go down, we have Flux at $3.70 a day after power. And then we have Ravencoin at $2.83 a day after power. And I'm looking for Ergo down here at $2.64 a day after power. If we look at mining pool stats, we have Bitcoin. Taking a look, we're at 219 exahash a second. No real changes since yesterday. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum, which should be around 1 petahash. And it currently is still sitting right at 1 petahash. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum Classic. And the important thing to note with Ethereum Classic is that, you know, we're starting to have some dips right here. So maybe the price isn't fully compensating for hash rate quite yet, as we are starting to see it kind of fall off and readjust. But the difficulty has settled in right around there. And the hash rate isn't a huge drop off, as it only went from like the top at like 29 terahash a second. It had a dip off to here, but it's back and it's around 28.52 terahash a second. So only 0.5 terahash a second down. That is the performance we are wanting to see out of an alternate mining option other than Ethereum. If we take a look at Flux, it is now back over 2 mega solutions a second after falling a little bit below on hash rate yesterday to about 1.9. So it is recovering. I don't know if it will hit back up to the 2.5 mega solutions a second, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Let's take a look at Ergo. Now, the reemissions has been approved with a supermajority. However, it has not been implemented quite yet. That being said, they did the same testing that Ethereum Classic did, and it just didn't hold up and hold any weight. It went and peaked at 21 terahash a second and dropped back down to about 15 terahash a second. This is what we do not want to see coming up to the merge. So there's that. Ravencoin, I presume, is probably pretty much unchanged. And yep, still pretty much unchanged on Ravencoin. Mining pool profits for the past 90 days. Flex pool in first, mining pool hub in second, crazy pool in third. For the last 60 days, ZET in first, flex pool in second, mining pool hub in third. For the last 30 days, ZET in first, flex pool in second, nano pool in third. For the last 21 days, ZET in first, flex pool in second, 2 miners in third. For the last 14 days, ZET in first, nano pool in second, flex pool in third. For the last 7 days, ZET in first, flex pool in second, nano pool in third. For the last 3 days, ZET in first, flex pool in second, and nano pool in third again. For the last day, flex pool in first, mining pool hub in second, ether mine in third. Taking a look at ASIC miner profitability, the KD6 really hasn't changed. It's still sitting around 120 US dollars a day. We do have the Inosilicon A11 beating out the KD5 for second place thanks to the pump in Ethereum price. So that's at $96.99 a day, and the KD5 at $81.40 a day. We'd have to scroll down and take a look at a few of these other ones, but for the most part, nothing appears to have changed. We always like to look at the S19 Pro as well, just as a baseline, and it's still sitting right around 20 US dollars through mining rig rentals. We do have basically a new combo deal on BT miners. Make sure down in the description you check it out if you're interested in this one. You have the KD box plus the HS box for $7,050, and the KD box plus the Gold Shell X5 for the same price. You can always run the profitability checks over here on ASIC miners on minerstat.com/hardware/ASICs. And then see what your ROI would be. Let's get into questions and answers for the day. Super chats never required, always appreciated. First to be answered because they're the easiest to read. Second to be answered is at Son of a Tech, so tag me and then I will answer those. So I know Stiggy did donate 50 and says, what do you think of Alf and do you shave downstairs? And the answer would be as far as Alphium or Alf. It's one of those dual mining things that if it makes sense, it makes sense. For me and my farm right now, any dual mining or any algorithm that is pushing the core doesn't make a lot of sense. I am really just at that cusp of not having basically the available power to even increase the power rate for a lot of these. And that's kind of where I'm at. As far as the other question goes, that's none of your business or beeswax, but I can tell you that it is purely dependent on how much time I have. Same with my face. Panzer says, as Savatek, the problem that politicians want to solve with the digital dollar does not exist in Europe. Wire transfers are free. Everyone must get an account. U.S. banking is very backwards and expensive. It's very backwards and expensive because it's a huge international manipulation. And unfortunately, the rest of the world is waking up to it, right? So that's really the problem we run into in the United States, right? Go ahead and tag me if you have questions. We'll get into it. This is the shirt. I saw that earlier. And you can see the other shirt. So there you go. Now, this one I don't like as much because it had to print the black and the white on top of the black shirt. But it's not terrible. I think throw it in the wash and it'll be good. The shirt itself material is pretty good. It's getting very hot out. J Lups with the $9.99 super chat says, plan on expanding your flux exposure with rigs or just nodes? Wouldn't hate a Caspa deep dive in its own video. Caspa spelled with a K in case you're looking for it. We did cover Caspa yesterday. Its listing should be in a couple weeks now. It'll be its first exchange listing, so you can definitely check that out. If you want to mine it, there are mining pools now. However, you're going to make a lot more solo mining it as it currently sits. So building your own node and solo mining it, and their Discord definitely has a lot of people that are helpful with that. I haven't got around to it. Making a video, that is. I am solo mining it. Kurosaki's Corner says, Ask Tech, any thoughts on the 40 series leaks and the suspected short shelf life of the 3090 Ti? Not really at this point. You know, to be honest, I was really busy the past couple days. I even didn't realize the 3090 was coming out, or the 3090 Ti was launching yesterday. Otherwise, I would have gone overnight to Micro Center, but I didn't, so we don't have one for testing. Welco says, how's the Caspa mining going? Actually, it's been super stable. There's been a couple patches that were pretty easy to implement, and even if you didn't implement them, it didn't take down your node, so the solo mining was pretty easy. We haven't had any issues at all. MC says NYK NYC shirt. I don't even know what that means, to be honest. Boy Matthew says, Ask Tech, are you planning on getting the 3090 Ti? I am debating it. I think right now I got to clear rent, to be honest with you, which is due in 2 days. And we just had a really bad mining day because of just farm issues. Detroit Irish says, Ask Tech, Kaz runs only on SLI wallet, so you need to run Linux to set up the wallet correct. Yes, as far as Caspa goes, I don't believe there's a web wallet at this point. You'll need to run it like on a Linux machine. I think you can run, there is a Windows wallet, but it would be through basically command line. So you wouldn't have like, there's not a GUI wallet essentially. Well, it does support Linux and Windows. Personally, I have it on a Ubuntu machine, right? So there you go. Dan San says, Ask Tech, when you clocks on non-light hash rate, do you lock the core clock and set power limit to 0, or is that for light hash rate only? When you clock on the non-light hash rate, you lock the core. I'll usually set the power limit to like a 30, it depends on the card, right? The 3070 to like 130 to 140, depending on the specific model. And then, you know, the same goes for all of them, right? Like 280, 265 to 280 for the 3080s. Really, the 3090s like 300, or they start falling off. 3 Mil says, Ask Tech, you the man, my dude, keep up the awesome work. Keep watching and we'll keep up the work. We got it, bro. Nicholas Kane says, Ask Tech, currently have a 3090 Ti in Windows testing ETH. Nice. What are your numbers? Kurosaki's Corner says, Ask Tech, thanks. The current links are suggesting a high TGP of 400 watts plus, even on the lower end cards, and a move to the 12-16 pin. Yep. Okay. Yeah, we're on both the 4000 series is definitely going to have a higher power consumption at this point. I think what we're seeing on the 3090 Ti is indicative of that as well, where it looked like the lowest power consumption that Chump Change was able to get was like 311, where like you can kind of still tune down the 3090 down to 280 if you get a good one, right? AZ Miner says, Ask Tech, thoughts on getting an Octo Miner limit of 1 deal going on? Yeah, the Octo Miners are available. I already retweeted them for single unit purchasing. They're very reliable. I've had 140 millimeter fan die on one, but you guys know I have a huge dust problem. So there is that to take into consideration for my particular use case. The first revisions had firmware issues. You could update them and they were more reliable. To my knowledge now, all the ones that are updated and patched are working pretty well. You are looking at a higher power consumption, significant per rig compared to open air. So depending on your setup, you may not want that. At the same time, the server cases are typically more reliable just because you can plop them in. They have that additional airflow and you're just kind of set it and forget it. It usually comes with Hive OS already pre-installed, so you just have to put in your information when you boot it up for the first time, and then it's off to the races. Very easy to work with. From a beginner standpoint, all you're doing is just plugging in the 6 pins and the GPUs, and you're done, right? But that comes with a price premium and a power premium. So both of those things are something that you should take into account. All right, we have a couple more super chats. Bid Moon with the $4.99 super chat. Love the content. Is mining KDA a decent idea? I don't personally have any experience with KDA or Kadena, primarily due to the fact that the barrier to entry is very high, and it's an ASIC. So, you know, I don't know that I really want to be tied to Kadena only that much. It's the same reason why I don't like nodes. It doesn't mean I don't like the project necessarily. It's just from an investment standpoint, it feels more risky than even like the least risky one to me would be like a SHA-256 one, because Bitcoin's probably going to be around mining for a long time. And then in addition to that, there are other SHA-256 algorithms, right? So, or coins. So I'm not a big fan of that. Plus, my understanding is the payout schemes are pretty difficult from parallel assets and so on. But I haven't had any personal hands-on experience with it. That's just what my understanding of them is. 3mil says, ask Scimatech, what GPUs for the right price are you looking at right now? I am looking at 1660 Supers, specifically ones that have passively cooled memory modules. You can just underclock that memory by -1004. They're going to continue to run. If you really wanted to go like 24/7 on them, you pop that cooler off, you clean it off, you throw a graphite pad on there, put it back together, and you'll never have to touch that 1660 Super again. I hate even talking about it right now, to be frank with you, because now I know people are going to go buy them at that $300 mark. The pricing's good. It's highly ignored. It has the capability to mine other algorithms pretty easily. So it's not like the case of the 6600. While it does utilize more power than the 6600, you have more longevity in theory because you have more options for other algorithms later. And then, like I said, the passively cooled memory modules mean you're not replacing thermal pads really at all, ever. They're super reliable. They just don't break. They just keep going. And if you throw a graphite pad on there for, like, let's say the thermal paste breaks down, which is the only thing you're gonna have to worry about, and you want to never replace it again, you just pop that cooler off, throw a graphite pad on there for $5 to $10, depending on where you're sourcing them, and then you're done. You never have to touch that card again. Real PC Benchmark, thanks for the €2. With the pit stains, because we mine in this room. We mine everywhere. Mine in there, mine in there, mine in there, everywhere. You know what I mean? Brad Hardman with the $4.99 super chat says, Ask Scimatech, look, this man is doing it all. He tagged at Son of a Tech and did a super chat. Look, we got to read it. He says, I would love to receive help with Hive OS, and I could ship you my brand new 3090 Ti Zotac Hollow Black Edition. You need help with Hive. You can email me, and I'll give you my list for essentially a Calendly invite. I have been doing that more often. I don't charge for them like the other YouTubers, but that does mean that essentially I may not have a lot of time because I just don't. But I did a call yesterday to consult with someone just in the car while I was driving. So try to help where I can. Boy, Matthew says, that's Scimatech. How far is your farm from you? Actually, for you, it's about 8 miles. Mine's not that far. It's closer. It's like under, I don't know, under 5 miles maybe, or something like that. Emil Nordvist, dude, Emil, I can't pronounce your name and I apologize. Thanks for saying, at Son of a Tech, do you have any experience with the RTX 3060s? Is it worth changing pads on them since they are GDDR6? It depends on the make and the model, right? Depending on, and then if your hash rate's low. I do have two 3060s. I've only had, so out of all of my 3000 series GPUs, I've only had one fan die, and it was on the MSI RTX 3060. 3 mil says, Ask Tech, great answer. Thank you. Yes, sir. Panzer, thanks for the $5 in euro money bags. I don't have any money bags, man. I'm you know, we survived this month. Everybody, we survived this month. Probably the worst month in mining that we've seen yet. And the worst definitely on YouTube. We survived it. So I ain't going nowhere yet. I ain't going nowhere. You can't get rid of me. This is the way it is. Kevin says, Ask Tech, hey, I love the videos. I have an A5000 on NiceHash Quick Miner, and it all of a sudden has light hash rate enabled. Any advice? Yep, that's going to be thermal pads almost certainly. So whenever you have essentially light hash rate kick in on a non-light hash rate GPU, what's happening is that it's thermal throttling, and then the miner is picking up that thermal throttling, and when it picks it up on basically an Ampere GPU, it says, oh, it must be light hash rate, and it starts trying to unlock it. But what's really happening is your thermal throttling. This happens on 3070s as well. And so for the most part, that's what's going to happen. Pioneer Smokehouse says, can I graphite pads on a 1060? So some 1060s will have essentially actively cool. You can, yes. And the graphite pads, specifically, just to be clear with you guys, they're more expensive, but they go on the core. And the advantage to the graphite pads are basically kind of twofold from a miner perspective, except one use case would be essentially probably unattainable and not advisable on a small scale. But the number one is that they're not going to break down like thermal paste. So you're going to be done with it at that time once you do it. Then on top of that, if you were going to move to immersion cooling, you could in theory not have to basically strip the whole card down, and you could just plop the whole thing in there, and the liquid, the mineral oil or whatever you're using is not going to degrade that graphite pad, so it's easy to transfer over there. Downside is the price, right? So as opposed to just getting some thermal paste, which on a tube, 5 grams of thermal paste for $15 or whatever, you're going to be able to do easily probably like 20 GPU replacements, something like that. As opposed to that, you're going to be spending $5 to $15 depending on where you source the graphite pads and how many you buy and all that sort of stuff per unit. So that's kind of the upside and the downside. As far as the 1060 goes, the 1063 gigs have passively cooled memory modules. The 1066 gigs have actively cooled memory modules. So the benefit is not as high there. And that's because around the time that you have breakdown on the thermal pads, you'll probably just be replacing the thermal paste anyways. You might as well just replace thermal paste at that point. The reason for the graphite pads in specific cases where you have passively cooled memory modules in something like a 1660 Super or a 1660 Ti or a 1060 is that you never have to touch it again, other than, of course, if the fan dies and you have to replace the fan. Outside of that, what it is just reducing your workload. And thermal paste definitely dries up a lot, and I still like going with like the thermal take. What is it? Arctic MX4 seems to break down the slowest on the thermal paste. So if you're looking for thermal paste, I would go for that one. Nicholas Pitts says, Ask Tech, are you mining any CPU coins? Yes, Varus coin. Mario, thanks for the €5. Says, Ask Tech, we survived this month. Keep up the good work. You became part of my daily routine. Super thankful for everything you do. I'm thankful for the $5 in euro and the support from you. So thanks. Back at you. Hawk Crypto Mining with the $10 super chat says, hey, so love your stuff. Just got a warehouse with ASICs expanding my company. Do you have Any videos on OC overclocking the A60? Recommend it. Bought my first S19J and Antminer L7. Unfortunately for me, it's really hard to source ASICs. I have not been moving into it quite yet. I'm trying to. That being said, with the overclocking portion, I would really want to actually do it myself. I don't have a unit. I do have neighbors that are doing ASIC mining. They're overclocking. Depending on the unit, depending on your warranty, you may want to wait till if you have a warranty, you may want to wait till the warranty's up before you overclock it. That way you still have the warranty. In most cases though, you're not going to have a warranty, so go ahead and overclock it and then just be prepared to deal with the ramifications if something bad happens, right? But that's going to be your risk tolerance essentially at the end of the day. It's not very difficult to do at this point on pretty much anything Bitmain. So definitely can go out there and find the information to flash them and then start overclocking. Dan Sand says, Ask Nvidia, can you share a link of the graphite pads? You can't find it. Sure. Let me see if I can find one. I believe there's some on Amazon. You probably want to try to find the sheets, but I'll link you what I've had previously. I found some sheets though before, but IC makes them. You just have to trim them, and that one's at $10 right now. All right, scrolling back up, catch any of these. Kazuma says, Ask Tech, tell these miners the secrets of crypto miners, how they actually can make a big bug by mining ETC instead of them acting like sheep and following the shepherd. You mean if you went and mined ETC instead and everybody ditched Ethereum right now? I think that that's going to be a natural process. I don't think that we have to just say stop mining Ethereum. James PT says, at Tech, have you had luck with BIOS mods for 1660 Supers to get to 35 megahash for Hynix memory? I have, but then I opted to just not do that anymore due to basically heat. So I think like the 31 to 32 megahash a second is great. Plus the power consumption stays lower. John Lemon says, Ask Tech, sorry to hear that. Appreciate your content. Glad you're keeping it going, bud. Yeah, for sure, man. AJG says, Ask Tech, would it be best to recommend waiting on 1660 Supers until we see what Intel Arc cards can offer? There will always be a new card on the horizon. There will always be a new card on the horizon. This has been something in tech that's been asked for years, like in the PC gaming scene, right? Should I wait for the GTX 1070 or should I go ahead and buy a 980 Ti right now, right? That sort of question. And the thing is like, it's especially egregious within the cryptocurrency mining scene because you have to take into account that it's basically, here it is. Just give it to you right up front. Expand or die. If you want to be in this, you expand or die. The longer you wait to expand, the more likely you are to die off. It's just the way it is. You have to keep up. New England Crypto says, the knowledge. Thank you, at Tech. Thanks for watching. Dan Sand says, at Tech, can you share the link? We did that already. Oh, Nicholas Kane says, at Tech, on the Founders 3090 Ti using T-Rex miner so far, power limit set to 100%, pulling 448 watts, 0 core and plus 1600 memory, 131 megahash. Have only just started. Suggest settings to try on MSI Afterburner. God dang, 448 watts. I got settings for you. Return that shit and get some 1660 Supers. Be like, bro, I'd like to trade this in for 5 1660 supers, please. Thank you. I'll take the 150 reliable mega hash a second. I'm out. Peace. No, I think that what you're at is currently going to be pretty much the highest you're going to get as far as hash rate. Obviously, with the power consumption, you want to start locking in the core. And you can do that within Afterburner and locking that down further and further until hash rate starts dropping, and then stop there and see what you can get locked in. I am proud to say that we hit the nail on the head with our prediction for the hash rate on the 3090 Ti. Boy Matthew says, ask Cymatech, does BIOS modding the 1660 affect other algorithm hash rates besides ET hash? I mean, Ergo, yes. For EMH, thanks for the 199 euro. Says, hi mate, we all gonna make it. Wog me. Some goblin loser said, ask Cymatech, have you heard of the trading AI putting a lot into Luna? No, I haven't heard about that. Ty says, ask Cymatech, will ETC price rise or dump when the ETH merge? A lot of people think that if all the ASICs move over, that the Ethereum Classic price will dump. Now, I can't predict markets, and it's not financial advice. My thought is that you start seeing price discovery along with the increase of hash rate, which is what we've been seeing. If you look up essentially the hash rate to price on Ethereum, it's perfectly matched. It's Ethereum Classic specifically. It's the only thing that can do it right now. Kazuma says, what are you drinking? I'm drinking Gamer Sups. It's the pineapple one, and yes, it's good. You can use the affiliate links to get your Gamer Sups. Elo Core says, at Cymatech, do you think it's worth it to use copper shims instead of thermal pads for cooling 30 series memory? Heard some people getting 20 to 40 degrees cooler. Yes and no. So a lot of the copper plates that have been getting utilized, obviously, like your immediate temperature drops are great. Here's the downside. You're putting more weight on the PCB. What we have not seen is, this is something very new that's been going on, right? What we have not seen is longevity of these GPUs with the copper plates installed in them at this point. And depending on the tolerances, etc., it could definitely cause issues in the future with the pressure, improper pressure on the PCB and so on. I would be very cautious. And really, you want to be waiting. I think like a year from now, there is the potential that a lot of people are going to have 3000 series cards dying on them. There's the potential. I'm not saying it's for sure. I'm saying we don't know yet. It's a very new thing. But whenever I look at like essentially anything with like computer components and, you know, adding any additional weight and unspec'd weight and unspec'd pressure onto it, I definitely approach it from more of the cautious point of view. Brandon says, that son of a tech, planning on doing a Filecoin vid. I have lots of plans. Execution is hard. Larry says, that son of a tech, what is good rate at which to double the farm? Every 3 months or just as opportunity presents itself? As opportunity presents itself. If you got the cash flow, upgrade. John Lemon says, that son of a tech, make a deal to get Soap Shaker and I will buy G-Subs for at least a few months. I would try, but to be honest with you, our numbers on there is not good enough. Maybe like $80 in the past 3 months in what I've made off of it. And I think that's like, I don't remember, like 10% or something. So it's not enough. They aren't going to care about making a shaker for me. That's the way it goes, bro. Ben's 310 says $4.99. Thank you for the super chat. Says thoughts on Filecoin and manufacturers developing rigs for sale. I don't know about the manufacturers developing rigs for sale. As far as thoughts on Filecoin, if it can place itself in a position to provide persistent storage for Web3, then it is going to be golden. And it's really, that's the use case it needs to solve. And if it can get there, it gets there, and then we're good to go. I want to say thanks for joining Rocket Chat Hawk Crypto Mining Co. And welcome to the Suns on YouTube. And Crypto Mikkel said that he has seen some shorted a 3080 with the copper mod. That is another thing too, is that you're talking about essentially a conductive metal. And if you are not extremely careful when applying that copper and you hit a trace, you will just blow up your card and be done. So you do have the potential of immediate breakage of your GPU as well, and that will not be covered under warranty. Yeah. At Son of a Tech, tell me, isn't the nature of miners and ASIC miners is to get bigger profits, the N electric cost? So in my calculation, ETC is the next big thing for ASICs. I'm not calculating exactly out what you mean. Maybe you're trying to say that as far as the ETH hash ASICs are moving over to Ethereum Classic. That's a done deal. We know that. John Lemon says, at Son of a Tech, how much mega hash increase per month do you aim for? Right now, I aim for power increase, personally. But I'm always just trying to take anything I have and reinvest it. Some Goblin Loser says, $5 super chat, says, at Son of a Tech, have you heard of any trading AIs doing things in the market? I've seen one that has been pumping Luna and Bitcoin. I think that was already asked earlier, and no, I don't know anything about trading AIs really. I mean, there's definitely trading bots you can go purchase, or even, I guess, exchanges that offer automatic botting to a certain extent. I don't use them. I'm not a trader. I'm not interested in trading. If you get into trading, you're going to just destroy your taxes as well, which is rough. If you're into mining and you sell, most of the time you're going to be selling at a loss, so you have a write-off. Just makes more sense. Yeah, I need to basically increase my power before I can really continue to upgrade. I'm in a weird spot, Joel. My best friend, thanks for joining the Rocket Chat. Welcome to the Suns. All right. I think we'll wrap it up here unless we got a couple more questions. Be sure to share the channel out. That definitely helps us out a lot. And yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next Tuesday.